Hi everyone, today we're going to do a lesson on circles, and I'm doing this lesson first because no matter how many times I try to teach my students, people always seem to forget. Yes, so hopefully this will be a good reference. Anyways, to start, let's write the circle equation. So it's x minus h the whole squared plus y minus k the whole squared equals to r squared, where r is a radius and h comma k, here's my very bad circle, oh yes, not bad, h comma k is the center, so it's the points or the center. Does that make sense? Okay, so if I were to give you an equation like x minus 3 the whole squared plus y plus 2 the whole squared equals to 25, and I asked you, hey, what's r and what's h comma k, so what's the center, then you would be able to tell me, since r squared equals to 25, and you do square root on both sides to just get r, and you would get 5, okay? So you get 5. And then for h comma k, you would get 3 comma negative 2. So I want you to pay attention to the fact that I said negative 2 instead of just positive, okay? This is because of this, the negatives here. I don't know how, this is just how the formula works, so just bear with me. The y plus 2 the whole squared is basically equivalent to y minus 2. So if you can imagine this, then now you can understand that h comma k, that's why the negative is here, even though there's a positive here. It can be confusing, but please do not forget. Okay, so now you understand at least the basics of how circles work. Now, a typical question, well, I can't really say a typical question because questions can be quite different, but like one that you might possibly see, I guess, is probably something like this. For example, it might be like x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8y equals to 14 or something. And they ask you, hey, what is the radius? Well, please do not make the mistake where you see that 14. Oh, okay, so root 14 must be the radius. No, this is not true. You have to first turn it into like the circle equation form. So basically, let's try to make this resemble this in some way, shape, or form. And in order to do this, we have to do a method called completing the square. And you might have heard of this before, so if you have, then you can just skip to like whenever I'm done with it. But completing the square, you might have heard of it when you're trying to change standard form to vertex form or something in quadratics. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then a video will come sooner or later about that as well. So just for now, let's try to stick with what I'm trying to do. So in order to complete the square, basically I'm trying to turn x squared plus 4x to somehow resemble this x minus h the whole square thing. So I prefer to do this kind of like separately, even though, I don't know, does that make sense? I'll show you. So for x squared plus 4x, I want to add a number c. I'm going to call it c, so that I can complete the square so it looks somewhat like x minus h the whole square. So something like x and plus or minus a certain number and the whole square. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to just write ax squared plus bx plus c here so you know what I'm referring to. If I had to give you some sort of like a formula for what c is, then I would say c is just b over 2 the whole square. If I had to give you a formula for what this number is, like, you know, I put negative h for now, but I just mean like whatever that number is, then I would do b over 2. So you'll see what I mean in a second. Let's try b over 2 the whole squared. You have 4 over 2 the whole squared. So you get 4 over 2 is 2. 2 squared is just 4. And now for b over 2, you get 4 over 2, which is just 2. So I would get x squared plus 4x plus 4. And that is supposed to equal to x plus 2 the whole squared. Now, you might doubt what I'm saying, so let me try to prove this to you. x plus 2 the whole squared is just x plus 2 times x plus 2. And then we're going to do the FOIL method here. If you don't know what FOIL is, I can do a video later as well. But yeah, so FOIL, very quickly, is first, so it's x squared, outer, plus 2x, inner, plus 2x, and last. 2 times 2 is 4. So I get x squared plus 4x plus 4. There. You see how that is exactly what we have here. So I'm trying to prove that c equals this thing I just showed you here is makes sense. Anyways, now we do the same thing for the y minus 8y. So we want to add a number c, and we want to make it seem like y minus k the whole square, something like that. C equals to, using what we just learned earlier, b over 2 the whole squared, which is negative 8 over 2 the whole squared, and this is negative 4 the whole squared, which just makes 16. And then this number is going to be b over 2, so it's going to be negative 8 over 2, which gives you negative 4. So you're going to get y squared minus 8y plus, plus 16 equals to y minus 4 the whole square. Once again, I want to prove this to you. So y minus 4 times y minus 4 using the FOIL method. First is y squared, outer is negative 4y, inner is also negative 4y, and last, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So you get 4 and y squared minus 8y plus 16. Okay, so at this point, from what we solved so far, kind of separating it, you have x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then you have y squared minus 8y plus 16, and our original equation was x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8y equals to 14. You kind of want to combine it, I guess, and you would get x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus y squared minus 8y plus 16 equals to 14. Just stick with me for a bit. This doesn't make any sense as it is now, because you just added two numbers, 4 and 16, from this original equation, and you didn't do anything to the other side. It doesn't make sense that you would just add numbers when it's supposed to be an equation, literally supposed to be equal, and it's not equal anymore. So, to make up for the fact that you added these two numbers on the left side, you're also going to add it on the right side. So you're going to go plus 4 plus 16. Now this is equal, right? So you can kind of imagine you balance it all out by adding it on both sides. Remembering that this is equivalent to x plus 2 the whole squared, and this is equivalent to y minus 4 the whole squared. You can find that 14 plus 4 is 18, and 18 plus 16 is 34. So going back to the original question, I asked you, hey, what's r? So then you could tell me r is equal to root 34, and then for h comma k, you get that the center of this equation is going to be negative 2 comma positive 4. Great. Now let's do an actual SAT question. I got this one from the October 2017 test. Okay, so in the xy plane above, the circle has a center h comma k and a radius of 10. What is the value of k? Alright, so based on the fact that this is a circle related question, I know I'm going to have to use the equation. So I personally like to write it out first, so I can kind of envision what I am given, what I have, what I don't have, what I need to find, to solve the question, and so forth. Okay. In order to find k, that means I basically need to know every other thing here, right? I need to know what x, h, y, and r. I've already been given what the r value is, so I'm going to write that in first. R is going to be 10, right? It gives you that is 10. So r squared is 100. Now, this is the part where I guess I'm giving a tip. SAT, at least from my experience doing it and also teaching it, I rarely see questions that are I rarely see questions that give information, like math related information, that isn't relevant to how you solve it. So what I'm trying to say is most of the numbers that you're given in a math question will probably be relevant to what you're trying to solve. That might seem very obvious here, but sometimes you'll be given like a bunch of numbers and you think some aren't relevant, but they are. So what I mean is, I know that the 4,0 and the 20,0 probably have something to do with how I solve this. And what I will notice here is that they're both on the same like y value, if that makes sense. So if you could imagine, and I drew like a little middle line, this middle line, like this middle point between 4,0 and 20,0 would exactly also be the x value of the h. So does that make sense? And this only works when the y values are the same. So for example, this would work, right? Where the middle values, if these 2 points have the same y values, then this would also be h. This would also work, where this would also be h. What wouldn't work, for example, is something like, I don't know, this. Just because there are 2 points that touch each end of each edge of the circle, or I don't know, math terms, that doesn't necessarily mean that the middle is going to represent the h. But when I notice that these two have the same y values, then yes, the middle will equal h. So let's solve for h. 4 plus 20 equals to 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Okay, great. So now we found that the h value is 12. Now, I'm going to plug in right now x minus 12 squared plus y minus k squared equals to 100. Kind of like when you have, like, I'm going to use a simpler example to make sure that you don't panic when you see a big question like circles. So when you have y equals to mx plus b, and let's say I've given you points 4, 1, and I've given you that b is, I don't know, 5. And then in order to find what m is, what I would do is just plug everything in from now on, right? So I would go 1 equals to m 4 plus 5, and I would solve, and I'm not going to do it because waste of time, but kind of like that same idea, I'm going to plug in one of these two options just because they're given to me and they're useful, okay? So I'm going to choose 4, 0 just because it's a smaller number, and smaller numbers are usually easier to work with. Not necessarily true, but yeah. 4 minus 12 the whole squared plus, in this case, y is 0. 0 minus k the whole squared equals to 100. So 4 minus 12 is negative 8 the whole squared plus negative k squared equals to 100. I mean 64 plus k squared equals to 100. K squared is 100 minus 64, which is equivalent of 36. And k is going to be 6. Okay, just a quick side note. K is technically, because a square number is, positive or negative, could be squared. K is technically plus or minus 6. But in this case, it's very obvious that the k is above like the x-axis. So it would be, you would choose a positive number. Now, for example, if the question was to draw like, I don't know, this instead, where you have the same points, then your k value, you would choose the negative number. But in this case, the positive number is relevant. That's how we solve k equals to 6. Well, I hope that helped for everyone, and I hope you don't get circles wrong on your SAT. Think creatively, take it one step at a time. Like if you're given a bunch of information and it's overwhelming to you, don't panic. Just like remember what you've been taught or what you know, and try to work things through until you find an answer or you find a way to solve the answer. That sounds very vague, but I guess that's all I can say. Anyways, thank you. Bye.